So, hi everyone, I'm John Murdoch. I'm a UK-based pre-sales engineer at Ballavit, and today really I'm going to try and give you an overview of how you can sort of combine both multi-factor authentication and monitoring to actually increase security without constraining the business essentially. I am very technical, so if you have any technical questions afterwards, please come and see me. I do have a lot of sales colleagues around me as well, so yeah, you're more than welcome to come and ask them questions about licensing, etc. as well. But just to kick off, really, I'm normally used to wearing a headset. I'm going to really try and answer that question, really, why you would want to combine both multi-factor authentication with monitoring. And what I'll do to actually show you the sort of comparison, really, between the traditional workflow, which is a normal user sort of logging in and sort of getting a password and logging into a system, to get super user access. And I'll contrast that with the sort of approach that we do at Ballavit, and we can help you with at Ballavit, in actually trying to simplify that approach, but also give you really good monitoring as well, and make it, I would say, more accountable to the user, really, so that you can actually be sure that the user is doing the particular actions on those systems that you're trying to protect, really. I'm also going to try, and this is very brave, trying to do a live demonstration as well. Hopefully it goes well. And I'll try and also give an overall benefit summary of the solution too, to you all. So, just to start really, why we should actually do this in the first place. So, you've got multi-factor, which is a really good sort of security solution to make sure that people are who they say they are. It complements a username and password quite well, and the fact that they need to carry something around or know something particular to themselves to actually gain access to a system. So it's a really good security sort of aspect, really, to be sure of who's actually logging into that account. Secondly, really, it's the monitoring as well, and that gives you the accountability, not only just for who's logged in, but what they're actually doing. And that gives you a comprehensive knowledge of who did what on your system, so that it's not just a generic user like root sort of doing things. You actually know it's been John, for example, who's been working as root or as administrator, doing those changes on those systems. So that's a really sort of important thing, is having that accountability. But also compliance needs that as well. You need to make sure you've got the correct role-based access controls into your network, so that when John does log in, he's only allowed to access the systems that he's supposed to access, and also does the commands that he's only supposed to do as well. And again, that really, I'd like to underline there, is really about making the user responsible and accountable for their own actions, through the authentication and through the monitoring of their actions as well. So, a traditional workflow really tends to look like this. You have a user within your environment. At this point, he tends not to have privileges. He tends to get privileges from some other aspect, really. And in this case, most of the time it's going to be something like a password vault. So someone's going to go get their credentials for the password vault, and then log in and get the credentials so they can access a super user account, for example. But in some respects, you might want to tighten that up so that people can't just go into the password vault and start clearing it out of passwords. You want to actually make sure that that user is accountable as well. So, you can actually tie in your password vault with multi-factor authentication. Now, this could be, again, with a mobile phone, it could be logging into a website, but already you've sort of had to swivel seat the user around between the password vault, having to get their token, maybe even log into another website. So it's changing the user's workflow substantially. And then, this is the riskiest part, the actual user then has to take the password and do something with it. Either copy it to a clipboard, even write it down on a post-it note, maybe even take a photograph of it. But at that point, that actual credential is then exposed. And that can actually be a really big risk to your business, especially if they're then logging in as a super user account on a system. Because what you need to then do is tie in the logs from the password vault to the logs of someone logging into the server and maybe even the session recording as well. So you've got many broken links in that chain of accountability, really. And also, the workflow is a bit of a faff, really, for the user, because they're having to log into the password vault, copy it, then move around, maybe log into their multi-factor, and then log into the system and copy and paste, etc. That could be made a lot more simpler for the end user. So, what we offer as a solution is being able to log in for the user to, when they go to try and connect to a system, they log in via a proxy. That proxy can actually issue challenges for that user. It looks like they're trying to connect to the endpoint, but the great thing is that you can actually just make their workflow one continuous sort of stream, not having to log into portals or jump hosts, etc. So one thing we can offer as part of that connection process is basically the sort of login via the proxy, and then challenge the user to provide their multi-factor authentication. So something like basically issuing a token or putting in a sort of token ID as well. So that's one thing you can actually do there. Just do it in band in the connection string. From there, you can then use our proxy system to actually check out the password on behalf of the user. That means the user never has that copy to hand, and it means that it's just basically put and logged in for them. And the proxy can also have the username and the username they're trying to connect into as well. So it could be John logging in as root, it could be John logging in as administrator, and that's really great for systems that don't necessarily have agents that can challenge the user, etc. So you could actually use this really for people logging in as a sort of super user into network devices, into sort of domain controllers, etc. With domain controllers, you normally have to have domain admin access. But with this system, we can just make sure that only a certain list of users without domain admin can actually get through to the host without knowing that administrator password as well. And this is all done through one session, not having to swivel seat between many different sort of applications. So what I'm going to try and do now, and I sort of laugh as I say this, is I'll try and give you a demonstration of this to hand. So, I've just escaped out of there just now, and this is going to be hard, so I'm going to have to turn around the microphone a few times. So, I don't want to change that, so I'm just going to minimize it instead. So, I've got a few machines here on my laptop, and the one thing I'm going to try and do here is I'm going to try and log on to a Linux server via our proxy solution, which is called Shell Control Box, or our Privileged Session Manager, as the whole solution is called. And I'm going to try and log in to Oracle, an Oracle user on a system called KDC, via our proxy solution. And you can see there in that connection string the system I want to log into and the proxy I want to use. So you can use any client software you want to use to initiate that connection. We can do the same emulating a remote desktop gateway on Windows. So it means that a user can use any SSH client, any RDP client to log into a system, but at the same time challenging that user to provide more detail. So I'm going to try and log in as Oracle. And the first thing it prompts up is it says, look, I need to know who you are before you log in as Oracle. So what we've done is we've put an integration here to Active Directory to actually check that user before they log in. So I'm going to log in as myself. And now I've got the option of inserting a one-time password from Okta. This is just one sample integration. Or I can actually get it to send a push notification to my mobile phone. So I've just hit return there, and let's hope that this comes through on the 4G network in here. Now there's a lot of people around, and it usually takes a few seconds as well. But the great thing is this is simplifying the process for the end user. They're not having to log into a different portal to authenticate themselves, etc. Now I've got the Okta sort of prompt here, and now I can accept or deny that connection. So let's accept it. And now, what this will do is it will try and check out the Oracle password for me and log me into the system, which it has done. So that's a really nice seamless system, and this is just done using our Python API. So this Python API, you can program yourselves to integrate with any sort of multi-factor authentication system or workflow engine or ticketing system that has an API that you can go out and check the user before they actually log in. And just to show you one thing as well, just to show you the monitoring side of thing, I'm going to just type something that I can then search on as well. And this is one powerful part of the process. So this is John at InfoSec, and I'll just say Cyber Innovation Showcase. There we go. Now, the great thing is I can now search on this using our proxy solution. So if I now exit this session is now taken away and now starting to be analysed. So if I bring up the front end for Shell Control Box, I log in as admin. You wouldn't do this all the time. You could normally hook this up into Active Directory, for example. But if I log in as password, in here, so admin password, which is a generic account, and then I do a search, hopefully my indexer has run through that now. So if I now type innovation, fingers crossed, I spell innovation correctly as well. I've got one hit, and now I can go in and actually get a really nice quick preview of what appeared on the screen. So this is when it appeared. So this is a really good way to do a root cause analysis, but also get the full accountability as well. And I'll just quickly show you that. If I look at the metadata for this session, you can see it was only the session shell I allowed, so I can actually block different channels. But you can see right at the end here, it was John Murdoch logged in as Oracle. So you've got that full accountability trail, you've got the monitoring as well, and you've got the added multi-factor authentication to make sure that that person is who they say they are before they log in. And you could expand that even further by using things like ticketing systems just to make sure they've got a valid ticket before they log into the system. And it's no swivel seating for the user. It's just one continuous connection process. So, back to the PowerPoint. And let me now just bring that up. So there's other great benefits with our solution. The main thing is that it's a turnkey appliance. There's no agents involved. It's really quick to set up. You can be up and running within 15 minutes, and you can do something like a proof of concept within 2 days quite easily. The other thing as well is it's completely transparent to the end user, either through remote desktop gateway or part of a Citrix infrastructure, or even just as a SSH proxy in that very basic example. But it's the account security there. The credential store API is really useful for everyone because it means that you can actually hide your credentials, protect them from someone copying them and moving them somewhere else. And you can actually even initiate a sort of credential sort of recycling really in that process as well. But we're not just limited to credential stores. We can integrate, as I said, with ticketing, workflow engines, multi-factor authentication solutions as well. Anything that's got an API. Other things as well is our monitoring and forensics. We're a video-like replay. Very, very small file size. We typically say for Windows between 1 to 3 megabytes per minute. So it's very small file sizes because we do a network capture, which can even be exported to Wireshark as well. So you could do really nice in-depth sort of forensics there. Also, you can search for it, as I demonstrated, even on Windows. We run an optical character recognition engine on Windows as well. So you can scan all the text that was seen on screen, even in Excel documents, Word documents, etc. Even if it's a bitmap of text. Also, it's tamper-proof. Because it's a single appliance, you can actually restrict who can actually access it, but also you can timestamp and encrypt those audit trails as well, so that no one can tamper with it. So it's really nice, sort of solid, really sort of could stand up in court sort of audit trails. Also, having everything recorded with such a small file size is a deterrence for users trying to hack into a system, for example. So it's a really good solution for that. And it's granular as well, not only from the auditing perspective that I said on the PowerPoint there, but also control as well. You can block and record clipboard, for example. You can block and record file transfers such as SCP file transfers on SSH. You can even encrypt separately the text input, just in case there's sensitive passwords you don't want someone to actually view. So it's really good from that monitoring and forensics viewpoint, but then also from the control. You've seen some of that for the multi-factor side of things, but yeah, you can do this all in band. There's no need to use custom clients or portals, etc. You can do this all through a standard client connecting to the system. And you can then control the access to particular servers from particular clients for particular even Active Directory groups. You can check someone's Active Directory group before they even get access to your system. So it's a really nice way of doing that without the user being aware that they're being cross-examined. And yeah, there's other things as well. We can actually even send alerts based on content that the user sees, such as window titles, such as text that appears on a console, or commands as well entered into the console as well. We can send an alert, or we can even close down a connection before the command's sent. So it's a really nice way of enriching your SIEM, but also at the same time protecting your systems from unexpected reboots, for example. You could even put a time window in to prevent a particular command from being run between 9 to 5. You might want to make them run it, for example, in a maintenance window. And also, we've got a 4 eyes authorization process. So that means you can actually have 2 pairs of eyes on a single connection. Because we're not recording a video, we're taking network packets, you can actually relay those to another third party who can actually watch the connection, make sure that your external third parties are doing what they should be doing, and if you don't like what they're doing, you can actually even just terminate that connection as well. So it's a really nice way of making sure that people only get access to the systems they're required, but also someone else is actually watching what they're doing as well.